discussion of all such kind of numbers or the classification of the numbers that do exist in the world of the mathematics, now let's just discuss about the real numbers. What is the meaning of a real numbers, or what are real numbers? Actually, any number which either can be represented in the form of p by q, or any number which is either a rational or an irrational, both of the collections comes under the real number. So let us suppose I'm talking about the definition of the real number. So definition of the real number is actually the real numbers can be classified as rational numbers as well as irrational numbers. So a collection of numbers that do have both of these kind of collections or both of these numbers, such a collection is nothing but called as a collection of real numbers. That is why real numbers are called as the biggest collection of numbers that do have natural numbers, that do have integers, whole numbers, rationals as well as irrational numbers. So let us suppose we recall the definition of the rational numbers. What is the meaning of a rational number? So any numbers which are of the form of p by q, which are of the form of p by q, where p and q are co-prime. What is the meaning of co-prime? The meaning of co-prime is the highest common factor of p and q is nothing but 1. So you can also call it as p and q are any integers with a condition that denominator cannot be equal to 0. So here q cannot be equal to 0. Such kind of the collection of numbers are called as the rational numbers. For example, we are talking about -3, 3 by 5, -4 by 5, 1 by 2, 1 by 5, so goes on. Such a collection is nothing but called as a collection of rational numbers. Now let's just talk about irrational numbers. What is the meaning of an irrational number? So any numbers which are not in the form of p by q, where p, q are co-prime again and q cannot be equal to 0. Such a collection is nothing but called as a collection of irrational numbers. What are irrational numbers? √2, √5, pi, √3, √21, all such kind of numbers are nothing but a collection of irrational number. So a definition of real number means a collection which do have a collection of rational as well as irrational is called as a collection of real numbers. Now let's just see a pictorial representation of the real numbers. Let us suppose we are talking about the very first kind of a numbers which are nothing but called as a natural number. We do know that the very first existence of numbers are of the natural numbers. Those are called as the naturally existing numbers. After the addition of 0 in this particular collection, we do have a collection of the whole numbers, which was the biggest collection rather than the natural numbers. Now let's just move on further towards the introduction of the negative numbers. When the negative numbers gets introduced, then the collection was like this much bigger, and such a collection is nothing but called as a collection of integers. So every natural number is an integer, every whole number is an integer. We all know about these facts. Now let's just move on further. Integers can be classified as the rationals because every number inside the this particular representation of the rational number, or inside the circle, or inside this particular number can be written as a rational number. A natural number can be written as a rational number, a whole number can be written as a rational, an integer can be written as a rational number or in the form of p by q. And irrational numbers are those kind of numbers which are not related with all these numbers because they do have their own existence, as they are the numbers which are non-terminating and non-recurring numbers. So these numbers are nothing but called as the irrational numbers. Now a collection which do have both of these collection, a collection which do have both of these collection is nothing but a collection which is called as a collection of real numbers, which are nothing but represented as capital R. So this is nothing but a representation, or we can call it as a Venn diagram of real numbers. It is nothing but a Venn diagram of real numbers. in which we definitely do know about some of the specifications or some of the notations. As we know that capital N is nothing but a representation of the natural numbers. We do know that capital N can be represented as a collection of the natural numbers. W can be represented as a collection of whole numbers. Integers can be written as a collection represented as capital of Z. Rationals can be represented as capital of Q. Irrationals can be represented as capital of I, or we can sometimes call it as R minus Q. So these notations are really very important. Now let's just move on further towards some of the notations.